Hello friends, myself Ahir Dr. from RBNB College Srirampur. Today I deliver a lecture on rotational dynamics. In this subtopic is conservation of angular momentum. Everybody is familiar with conservation of linear momentum. In 11th standard you studied that. In case of conservation of linear momentum, if no external force acting on system, then linear momentum of system remains conserved so this is the principle of conservation of linear momentum in a linear motion. Now as we know that in a rotational motion, linear momentum is analogous to angular momentum. Also, force in linear motion is analogous to the torque acting on a body in rotational motion. So, in case of rotational motion, we can write the principle of conservation of angular momentum is as like that: if no external torque, instead of force we use word torque because force and torque are analogous to each other, acting on a system, then angular momentum of system remains conserved. So this is the statement of law of conservation of angular momentum. In this case we can say that if no external torque acting on the system, then angular momentum of system remains constant. In that case we consider rotational motion, and in linear motion same law is there. If no external force acting on the system, then its linear momentum remains constant. Now we have to prove this relation, or we have to prove this law. So for the proof of this law, we know the angular momentum is given by L bar is equal to vector r cross vector p. In that case, L is the angular momentum, r is the unit vector, and p is the linear momentum. Now this is in a vector form, so we write L bar is equal to r bar cross p bar. For the proof of the conservation of angular momentum, we have to take derivative of this equation 1 with respect to time. Then we get dl bar by dt, that is equal to, now we have to substitute value of L bar is equal to r bar cross p P bar, and therefore we write d by dt in a bracket L bar is equal to R bar cross P bar. Now we have to simplifying this relation. So we get dl bar by dt, that is equal to R bar cross dp bar by dt plus, now we have to take derivative of this R bar with respect to time. So we write dr bar by dt cross p bar. So we take derivative of angular momentum with respect to time, then we get equation 2. Now we know the relation between angular momentum and linear momentum, that is equal to L bar is equal to I omega, where L is angular momentum, I is moment of inertia, and omega is angular velocity. Now we know the formula for linear momentum, that linear momentum is product of mass and velocity. So P is equal to m into v. It is vector quantity, so we write P bar is equal to m into v bar. Now we have to substitute this value in equation 2. Then we get dl bar by dt, that is equal to R bar as it is cross d by dt, in bracket we write P bar is equal to m into v bar, so we write m into v bar plus this dr bar by dt into or cross. Now again we have to substitute P bar is equal to m into v bar, so we write in bracket m v bar. Now here m is constant, so take out of the derivative, then we get dl bar by dt, that is equal to R bar cross m into dv bar by dt plus this dr bar by dt cross v bar. This is in bracket, remaining is mass, so multiply by mass. Now according to definition of acceleration, linear acceleration is the rate of change of velocity with respect to time, and therefore its formula is acceleration a bar is equal to dv bar by dt. So simply we write a bar is equal to dv bar by dt according to definition of linear acceleration. Now also we know that linear velocity is the rate of change of displacement with respect to time, and therefore we write v bar is equal to dr bar by dt. Now we have to substitute these values in equation say 3. Then this equation 3 will become dl bar by dt, that is equal to this R bar as it is cross m into a bar plus this dr bar by dt is equal to v bar, so v bar cross v bar into m. We know that this m into a bar is force acting on the body, so we write m into a bar, that is equal to force acting on the body, and also this v bar cross v bar is equal to 0. You studied in last year V bar cross V bar means cross product of same vector will become 0, and that's why V bar cross V bar, that is equal to 0. Then this equation 4, on substituting this value in equation 4, then we get, finally we get dl bar by dt, that is equal to r bar cross f bar, and this v bar cross v bar is equal to 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is equal to 0. That's why this term will become 0 plus 0. Now finally we get dl bar by dt, that is equal to, we know the definition of torque. Torque is the product of magnitude of one force and perpendicular distance, means momentum, that is called as torque. So we write r bar cross f bar, that is equal to torque acting on the body, tow bar. This is equation 5. Finally we get equation 5. Torque acting on the system, tow bar, is equal to dl bar by dt. But according to law of conservation of angular momentum, if no external torque acting on the system, then angular momentum of system remains constant. We have to prove this. So if no torque is acting on the system, then we write torque tau is equal to 0. As we write torque tau is equal to 0, then this relation will become this dl bar by dt, that is equal to 0. As dl bar by dt is equal to 0, therefore we can say that this L bar is equal to constant. L bar is equal to constant, and according to this one we can say that if no external torque acting on the system, means tau is equal to 0, then angular momentum L bar remains constant, and this is the proof of law of conservation of angular momentum. According to this proof, we can say that L bar is equal to constant, means angular momentum of a system remains constant, remains conserved if no external torque acting on the system, means tau is equal to 0, then angular momentum of system remains constant, and this is the proof of law of conservation of angular momentum. According to this law, we write this L bar is equal to constant, but we know that this L is equal to I omega, where I is the moment of inertia and omega is its angular velocity. That's why when we substitute value of L bar in a scalar form, we write I omega, that is equal to constant, where I is the moment of inertia and omega is its angular velocity. Similarly, as I omega is equal to constant, so we write I1 omega 1, that is equal to I2 omega 2, that is equal to constant. That is equal to constant, and according to law of conservation of momentum, we know the omega, value of omega is twice pi n. So we write omega 1 is equal to twice pi n1, and omega 2 is also equal to twice pi n2. Then substituting this value in this equation, then we get I1 in a bracket twice pi n1 is equal to I2 twice pi n2, that is equal to constant, and then this twice pi get cancelled and we get new relation I1 n1, that is equal to I2 n2. So this is final equation. So according to law of conservation of angular momentum, I1 n1, that is equal to I2 n2. In that case, I1 is the initial moment of inertia, n1 is corresponding frequency. I2 is the final moment of inertia, n2 is its final frequency. So this equation B is in terms of frequency, and this equation say 1 or A is in terms of angular velocity. Now as this angular momentum is product of moment of inertia and angular velocity, if moment of inertia of a rotating body goes on increasing, then angular velocity goes on decreasing. If this moment of inertia goes on decreasing, angular velocity goes on increasing, because in another word we can say that this angular momentum is product of moment of inertia and angular velocity. So one quantity goes on increasing, at the same time another quantity goes on decreasing. So with the help of this one, we study the examples of the law of conservation of angular momentum. So according to law of conservation of momentum, angular momentum, we write two basic formula. In first formula, we write this I omega is equal to constant. Therefore, we write I1 omega 1, that is equal to I2 omega 2 in terms of angular velocity. Also, we write I1 n1, that is equal to I2 n2 in terms of in terms of frequency. Now, with the help of this formula, we study the examples of law of conservation of angular momentum. So, first example of law of conservation of angular momentum is ballet dancer. This ballet dancer performs motion along the circular track. We consider a ballet dancer moving along a circular track whose radius is small, or we consider revolution whose radii are very small. In that case, if radii are very small, then in that case its distance of ballet dancer from the axis of rotation is very small. As distance between ballet dancer and axis of rotation is very small, then moment of inertia I is minimum. In that case, moment of inertia for corresponding small radii is minimum. As moment of inertia is very small, then angular velocity is large. In that case, angular velocity goes on increasing, because moment of inertia is minimum. As angular velocity is increasing, therefore its frequency also increasing. So remember again, when ballet dancer moving along the circles of small radii, then moment of inertia is minimum. Its angular velocity goes on increasing, and also frequency goes on increasing. So number of revolution goes on increasing. Now for larger radii, again in that case, distance between ballet dancer and axis of rotation goes on increasing. As the distance goes on increasing, in that case moment of inertia is maximum. And we know that angular momentum is product of moment of inertia and angular velocity. That's why again omega goes on decreasing. As angular velocity goes on decreasing, frequency also goes on decreasing. So in this way, for larger radii, moment of inertia is maximum, then omega and frequency goes on decreasing. So this is about the conservation of angular momentum in case of ballet dancer. If you consider another example, diving of a driver on the board of the swimming pool. Initially, he stretches his body. As he stretches his body, when he stands on the diving board, then its moment of inertia is large. And as its moment of inertia is large, then angular velocity is small. For maximum moment of inertia, omega is small. Also n is small. When he leaves the diving board, then he folds his body. As he folded his body, then in that case, moment of inertia is minimum. As moment of inertia is minimum, for that case omega goes on increasing and omega is large. Then number of revolution also goes because frequency is also large. At the point when he touching the water surface, then again he stretch his body, then again moment of inertia become maximum and he enters in the water. So this is about the diving of the diver when it is on the it is in the swimming pool. So these are the some examples of the law of conservation of angular momentum. So in that case, remember that this I omega is equal to constant, or angular momentum remains constant if no external torque acting on it. Now we have to study the next point. In that case, we study about the moment of inertia and its physical significance. Everybody knows the definition of moment of inertia. When we consider a rigid body rotating about an axis passing through its moment of inertia, then moment of inertia is given by summation I tends to 1 to n mi ri square. So with the help of this formula, we can define the moment of inertia of a rotating body about an axis passing through the center. In that case, if we consider this is the rigid body rotating about an axis passing through its center in anticlockwise sense with angular velocity say omega. Now this body consists of large number of particles of masses m1, m2, mn situated at distances r1, r2, rn from the axis of rotation respectively. Then we get moment of inertia I is equal to summation I tends to 1 to n mi ri square. So we define the moment of inertia of a rotating body. The moment of inertia of a rotating body about its given axis is defined as sum of product of mass of each particle and square of its distance from the axis of rotation. As this distance goes on increasing, moment of inertia goes on increasing. This moment of inertia depends upon mass and also it depends upon distribution of mass from the axis of rotation. Now we have to study the physical significance. Physical significance of eye. For studying the physical significance of moment of inertia, we consider linear motion, and in linear motion, to set body in a linear motion, force acting on that body, and that force is equal to mass into acceleration. This is equation 1. If we consider rotational motion, then torque tau is equal to I alpha. This is equation 2. We find out this relation, torque acting on a rotating body, that is equal to I into alpha, where I is moment of inertia. Now, if you consider this is the linear acceleration, the definition of linear acceleration is the rate of change of linear velocity with respect to time. Alpha is angular acceleration. So the rate of change of angular velocity with respect to time is called as angular acceleration. So we can say that the acceleration, linear acceleration in a linear motion is analogous to the angular acceleration in rotational motion. This acceleration, linear acceleration and angular acceleration, both are analogous to each other. Then force in linear motion is analogous to the rotational torque in the rotational motion, means these two quantities are also analogous to each other. Therefore, remaining quantities, mass in linear motion is analogous to the moment of inertia in rotational motion. So this is the physical significance of moment of inertia. In that case, this moment of inertia is called as rotational inertia. This rotational inertia is analogous to the mass in linear motion. So this is the physical significance of moment of inertia. Now we have to study another physical quantity, say radius of gyration. For radius of gyration, if we consider this rigid body, total mass of that rigid body is capital M. This rigid body is replaced by point mass, and whose total mass is again equal to capital M. So if we consider axis of rotation as like this one, and instead of this rigid body we consider point mass, that is equal to capital M, which is situated at distance k from the axis of rotation, and this point mass rotating about an axis as like this manner in anti-clockwise sense. As its mass is same, then it possesses same moment of inertia, because we know that moment of inertia depends upon mass, and this k is the distance of that body from the axis of rotation, and this k is called as radius of gyration. This k is called as radius of gyration. In that case, if I is the moment of inertia, this moment of inertia is similar to this body. In that case also I is moment of inertia. Only this rigid body is replaced in point mass, both having same mass capital M. Then we get moment of inertia I is equal to mk square, where m is mass of the point mass, k is the distance between point mass and axis of rotation, and I is the moment of inertia. Now by rearranging this one, we get k square is equal to I upon m. By taking square root of both sides, we get k is equal to square root of I upon m. This is equation say A. In equation A, what is k? K is the radius of gyration, I is the moment of inertia, and capital M is the point mass. Now from this figure we can define the definition of radius of gyration. It is simply distance between point mass and axis of rotation. So we can define the radius of gyration as like that. The radius of gyration of a rotating body is defined as the distance between axis of rotation and the point at which whole mass of body is supposed to be concentrated and possesses the same moment of inertia, that of the body, is called as radius of gyration. So simply remember that. What is radius of gyration? It is simply distance between point at which whole mass of body is supposed to be concentrated and axis of rotation. It is distance between axis of rotation and a point at which whole mass of body is supposed to be concentrated. That is called as radius of gyration, and this radius of gyration is equal to under root I upon m. Now we have to study the physical significance of radius of gyration k. So for studying the physical significance of radius of gyration k, again we consider this figure. As the distance between axis of rotation and point is large, then k is large. So if point mass is situated at large distance from the axis of rotation, then radius of gyration is large. Means, in another word, we can say that if body is away from the axis of rotation, then radius of gyration is large. If this body is or point mass is very close to the axis of rotation, then in that case this radius of gyration is very small. So remember that when this point mass is very close to the axis of rotation, then radius of gyration k is very small. As body is away from the axis of rotation, or this point mass is away from the axis of rotation, then this radius of gyration is large. So this is the physical significance of radius of gyration. Now we stop here.